The WWE Championship, easily the most prestigious championship in the history of professional wrestling, no matter how many Jinder Mahals WWE will give you. In its 6 decades of existence, we have seen over 50 men hold the WWE Championship across several years. Some of them have been great, others not so much. Before we actually begin, I just want to say, no, this is not a ranking of all 50-something WWE champions, because we'd be here for 3 days. Instead, I'm going to be ranking the past 10 WWE Championship reigns. Now, I understand that some people during those past 10 reigns have held the belt more than once, and that's fine, but I'll only be looking at that individual reign. I'm not going to take those 2 reigns and put them together. Confusing? A little, but you'll see. Trust me. Let's do this. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and here are the past 10 WWE Championship reigns, ranked from worst to best.
Number 10, The Miz.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Considering the fact that the guy only held the belt for a week, despite this being the 2nd time he's ever held it, and the 1st time he's held it in over a decade, says a lot. Things were looking up for The Miz during the tail end of 2020. He had won the Money in the Bank briefcase from Otis at Hell in a Cell in a weird match that saw Tucker turn heel, and nothing came out of that. He would hold the briefcase for a couple of months, and then he was inserted into the Elimination Chamber match for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. Weird, considering he was Mr. Money in the Bank, but he was removed at the last moment and replaced with Kofi Kingston. Then after the match, in which Drew won, go figure, The Miz cashed in successfully, becoming the only person to win the WWE Championship via cash-in twice. Edge and CM Punk don't count. They won the World Heavyweight title. He would hold the belt for 8 days before losing it to current champion Bobby Lashley. We'll get to him, don't worry. So what did he do after losing the championship? Well, he stayed as a team with John Morrison, went into a feud with Damian Priest and Grammy-nominated artist Bad Bunny. I talked about them in a previous video. If you want to see it, click here. It's kind of long, though. And then the whole zombies thing happened at Backlash. It was literally the only bad thing about that show. And now he's injured. Literally the first time in his career he's ever been injured. Kind of sad.
Number 9, Jinder Mahal.
I feel bad putting Jinder ahead of The Miz, but it's kind of true considering he did more stuff. And he held the belt for 6 months instead of, a week. But still, oh gosh, this was a bad reign. No one, and I mean no one, wanted Jinder Mahal, a man with an 80% loss record before becoming champion, to win the championship. But he did. But it was kind of fitting with SmackDown's theme at the time in 2017. It was branding itself as the land of opportunity, and this was fitting, considering Jinder Mahal had, surprisingly, become #1 contender, despite Rusev, Luke Harper, and Sami Zayn also being on SmackDown, and Mahal proceeded to beat Randy Orton at Backlash with the help of the Sings, winning the WWE Championship to a chorus of people doing this. This was despite the fact that he only knew 3 moves and had never needed to develop a captivating moveset because he was a jobber. That's what he was. He was a man that would come out, do something stupid, and then get beat up for it. Not a man who was supposed to be taken seriously as a heel main eventer. He would have exactly the same match with Randy Orton at Money in the Bank, and then a terrible Punjabi prison match. Yes, a Punjabi prison match, which is boring and you couldn't see it, at Battleground. The Great Khali showed up. That's how bad it was. And then he gave Shinsuke Nakamura his first pinfall loss on the main roster. They fought again at Hell in a Cell. Again, Jinder won. And then, mercifully, AJ Styles won the championship from him on free TV. Then, boop, back down the card he went, and he was injured, and now I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, weird time for Jinder.
Number 8, Randy Orton.
I know, right? Randy Orton at number 8, it's unbelievable. But hear me out. Yes, the win at Hell in a Cell was really shocking and really enjoyable, but he only held the belt for a month and really didn't do anything with it during that time. It's almost like he was a transitional champion for the man he had just taken the belt from. It seems like the only reason Orton was made champion was to make Drew McIntyre a 2-time champion. because one wasn't enough for the guy. I've put him ahead of Jinder because it was a really good match in which he won the championship, and it was a good match in which he lost the championship. But despite that, there's really not much else to talk about. Still, it is nice considering it tied the record for second most world championships in WWE history. He's tied with Triple H, and they are behind Cena and Ric Flair. The more you know.
Number 7, Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre's second reign was, to be fair, nowhere near as good as his first. He did have some good matches in there, no doubt, against the likes of Sheamus and Goldberg. No, not really. He had a really good match against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, in which I think he lost. So, there's that. And then he dropped it to The Miz at Elimination Chamber after winning the Chamber match. He has tried to get the belt back several times, each time being unsuccessful. And now he's in the Money in the Bank ladder match, probably just to give the company an excuse to put the belt on Drew in front of fans. Wouldn't mind, but that seems to be the case.
Number 6, Bobby Lashley.
They finally gave him a proper world title run, and no, the ECW championship doesn't count. For over a decade and a half, Bobby Lashley has been one of the most prolific superstars on the roster, and that's mainly down to him being a WWE style guy. He is bulging with muscles, he has a tiny bit of charisma, and he moves like lightning within the ropes. So, makes sense they put the championship on him, and honestly, there was no better time to do it than this year, because he was just coming off the angle of his career with the Hurt Business. MVP is the best thing that's ever happened to Bobby Lashley, and he's had several good matches as champion, all of them against Drew McIntyre, and he's looking to have a pretty good one against Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank. It's not spectacular, but so far so good.
Number 5, Brock Lesnar.
Now, some of you are complaining that Brock is only at number 5, despite having some great matches as champion, and that may be the case, but some of those matches, he didn't defend the title. Main case, the Royal Rumble match. One of my favorite Royal Rumbles of all time from 2020. It was so good. The whole stretch with Brock just being dominant as heck is magnificent. Edge's return is probably my favorite return ever, and Drew winning was phenomenal. But again, he didn't defend the championship, despite it being an excellent match. Speaking of defending championships, let's talk about Ricochet. Again. So, at Super Showdown, easily one of the worst pay-per-views ever, Ricochet and Brock Lesnar had a WWE Championship match. Lasted a minute and a half, and Brock won. Ricochet got no offense in whatsoever, and the match was crap. He did have another good match against Rey Mysterio at Survivor Series a few months prior, but hold on, I think I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, he won the gold from Kofi Kingston in about 5 seconds. I watched that happen live, and I was so mad when it happened. Why did they put the belt on him in 5 seconds? Because SmackDown had just moved to Fox, a legitimate sporting channel, and they wanted a legitimate sporting guy to hold their championship. And for their challenger, they brought in another legitimate sporting guy in the form of former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez. They had a match, wasn't great. A few months later, in front of no fans, Brock dropped the title to Drew. And the rest is history.
Number 4, Drew McIntyre. Again.
Drew's first reign was really good, especially in front of no fans, which kind of hinders it a little bit, but still, the dude went all out for what he could do. He had really good matches with the likes of Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, heck, Dolph Ziggler had a really good showing at Extreme Rules, and then the Thunderdome came in and he had a really good program with Randy Orton. I should also mention that his road to winning the WWE Championship for the first time was excellent. The Royal Rumble win, again, really good. His program with Brock, really good. Him kicking him every week is really enjoyable. And the match itself, though not great, was fine. He would drop it to Randy at Hell in a Cell, which I covered a few minutes ago. But yeah, his first reign was way better than the second.
Number 3, Kofi Kingston.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about Kofi Kingston. His WWE Championship storyline was one of the best storylines that I've witnessed as a wrestling fan. I didn't witness the whole Daniel Bryan thing because I wasn't a wrestling fan at the time. I know, ashamed. But yeah, the whole Kofi Mania story is one of my favorite stories His match with Daniel, excellent. His feud going into the show with Daniel, with Eric Rowan, heck, even Vince McMahon getting in on this is fantastic. To be fair, it did seem like Vince was holding him back for something. I'm not going to say what it is, but you know what it is. But despite all of that, the championship win is one of the best WrestleMania moments of the past decade. He had good matches with Dolph Ziggler, with Kevin Owens, with Samoa Joe, Randy Orton, and then lost it to Brock Lesnar in 5 seconds. Let's not think about that. Let's just think about the fact that Kofi's championship reign is highly underrated, and I think it should be given more credit.
Number 2, AJ Styles.
Whoo, this one was eternal. AJ Styles was the first WWE champion of 1 year since CM Punk. And you know what? Styles did pretty well. It was his second reign as champion. He won the title from Jinder Mahal on free TV, and he would go on to have matches with everybody. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, John Cena, Shinsuke Nakamura, 4 freaking times. Then Samoa Joe, and then Daniel Bryan. Styles and Bryan would have a championship match right before Survivor Series 2018. Really good pay-per-view, despite having some not great matches. And Bryan would win thanks to a kick to the plums. I know, sad way to lose a championship. But Styles had faced everyone, and Bryan, being the guy to beat him, is really symbolic considering when Styles' reign started, Bryan wasn't even an active wrestler. Oh, and speaking of Daniel Bryan.
Number 1, Daniel Bryan.
Now, his best championship victory was at WrestleMania 30. But this, his heel championship reign in 2019, was his best championship reign. Great matches all down the line against Lesnar, Styles, Kofi, everyone in that chamber match. The chamber match is legitimately one of my favorite matches of all time. His partnership with Rowan is really underrated and should be given more respect. His matches are just the best. Heel Bryan, I used to hate him, but now, looking back on it, I was a young kid and therefore a stupid kid and didn't respect heels as much as I should have. Looking back on it now, it's one of the best heel runs of the past decade. Excellent crowd work, excellent promo work, excellent in-ring work, and everything in between. All of that gives Daniel Bryan the best WWE Championship reign out of all of these guys.
And that's our list. Thanks for watching. Did we miss anything out? If we did, tell us about it in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. And you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and I will see you soon.